What's going on, guys? My name is Noah and I am so happy to be home, out of rehab, and able to make a video and just chat with you guys. I had a slew of ideas as to what I would talk about for my first video out of inpatient rehab that I went to for my alcoholism to address my rampant addiction issues that were taking over my life. But in the midst of being in treatment, the world flipped upside down, and prior to going to treatment on February 17th, I'd kind of been living under a rock in terms of the coronavirus or COVID-19. I honestly feel like I was drinking so much at that time, and I was so self-absorbed and just disconnected from media that I didn't really know much of anything was going on of any consequence. I guess I want to just do a quick life update with how I'm doing right now and how I'm, processing the coronavirus in my day-to-day life, both how I was trying to deal with it at the end of rehab and then what I'm doing right now to manage health anxiety, stuff like that. If you guys want to know how my rehab experience was specifically, I will be doing a whole nother video about my 1 month in rehab at Crestview here in Portland, Oregon. So much to say. Mental health videos coming, I've got some TRT videos coming, but for right now, we're just gonna sort of life update this baby, mostly focused on the coronavirus, okay? Anyway, I'm back and I'm grateful to be sober right now. And let's get into this video. 3 weeks into rehab, the coronavirus was just a joke in treatment. I mean, I was focused on treatment and my schedule was tight. Learning how to manage my my withdrawal symptoms and my emotions coming back and the stress of being in treatment away from my environment. I don't think myself personally and a lot of us there really had the capacity at that time, being kind of locked away and closed away, to process what was happening in the real world. That being said, the jokes certainly did stop fast. The facility I was at finally had to start making some changes and addressing the way we did things. So I was allowed, along with anyone else who wanted to go to a gym 3 days a week while I was in treatment. That got taken away. We stopped going to outside meetings. So in treatment, they would take us in the evenings, every evening, to a 12-step group. That was a public community group. That stopped because we had to now officially stay out of large gatherings. So our world in treatment got a lot smaller. But at that point, tension started to rise a little bit. People are now looking at one another with the sniffles. It's not funny anymore. We're now getting worried. That last week I was in there, things got tight, things got small, and I really started to worry about what I was gonna do in the real world. Was I gonna need to leave against medical advice, AMA, from treatment like a few other people were doing? How dangerous was this thing really? You know, my access to the outside world was also a little bit small, but I was trying my best to get through my treatment and keep first things first. And I just chose to trust leadership. I spoke to my dad, who happens to be a doctor, and barring getting quarantined and locked into rehab officially or legally, I was gonna stay there until I found out that might be the case, at which time I might leave. So it's kind of a tense, stressful, weird last week in treatment, in other words. My focus changed just a little bit. I started eating a bit more to cope with stress, and remember that I wouldn't be able to process this in any sort of mature, reasonable way, period, if I were still drinking. So that's something I told myself. I got out Monday, which was a couple days ago. I was so happy, I was so relieved, and then I immediately wondered if I was getting sick. For the last 2 days, I basically just slept for like 20 to 22 hours. It was amazing. At first, while I was super nonchalant in treatment about the coronavirus, I didn't give it any thought, but as I started to realize how the world was responding and my anxiety started to rise, I've come to find that it's not so much the anxiety about possibly getting sick. I already feel much better than I did the other day. I think I was just massively stressed and underslept. But what I'm at now is trying to figure out what I need to do for me to make sure that I am responding to the way the world is responding as a reasonable adult. My health anxiety seems much better right now than it was before. And something that's been helping me manage that health anxiety is remembering the things I can and can't control, and then trying to effectively control them. So I have a lot of healthy habits, and I'm so lucky that I'm sober right now that I can lean on those healthy habits. I'm trying to make sure that I am taking appropriate steps, but not fear-based steps, to prepare myself for the potential of a more formal lockdown. I'm here in Portland, Oregon. I keep awaiting something like that. I keep thinking that we're gonna get a formal, legal, you cannot leave your house type of mandate, and I just wanna be prepared. And also, beyond all that, for me personally, I need to not use this as an excuse to drink again. I need to not use this as an excuse to cope in an unhealthy way, because if I start drinking personally, I will magnify the situation that I am in and how it's affecting me to the umpteenth degree. I'm just so glad I got sober when I did on the 16th of February. That's my sobriety date. So I have over 30 days. I've got a lot of tools. I've got a lot of resources, and I am one of the lucky ones, truly. And I want to make sure when it comes to the elderly and when it comes to those that do have chronic disease or smokers or those that are older and morbidly obese, you know, how can I minimize my contact with them? Learning as much as I can, but trying not to take it in fear. And for me, turn it over to God, you know, turn it over to good orderly direction and just trust that this whole thing is going to be okay. A lot of us are going to have idle time. I want to stay in touch with you guys as much as possible and support you, and I want your support, and that's kind of where I'm at. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're processing okay. I hope you have support. I hope you're controlling the things you can to the best of your ability, and you're able to differentiate the things you can't to the best of your ability. It does help me cope. Hearing more about this, hearing about the death rates, hearing about the fear, hearing about the shortages of the toilet paper and the canned goods and all the what ifs, they tend to take me out of my primary purpose, and they tend to bring more stress, which will lower my immune system, lower my effectiveness, lower my ability to be of service to myself, my wife, and to others. And I need to be in that space given my role. So yeah, just trying to figure out how to adult this whole thing. I just know there are a lot of people suffering right now, and a lot of people in addiction are suffering right now. I know folks from our treatment facility have already relapsed. You know, this is a stressful time, and jobs are on the line, and living situations on the line, and it's hard enough to get sober anyway. And there's a lot of people trying to get sober right now who don't have a job to go to, don't have a place to live, and it's tough out there. So trying to figure out ways to manage my recovery, my staying sober in a more digital way, over the phone, and maybe small, careful gatherings, but then making content for you guys and just learning from you, and, you know, I'm just hanging in there. I'll do the best I can, like everybody. And prayers up for people that have a lot more to overcome than I do. So I love you guys. I miss you guys. We'll talk real soon about so many things. And it's good to be back. It's good to be back. Circumstances be damned.